Welcome to Maintainer's Garage. I'm Bags. Today we're going to be flushing my wife's NC Miata brake fluid. Before I did that, I want to talk a little bit about the tools I'll be using. I have a Motive power bleeder. It is fantastic. Works very well. I have the adapter for a GM brake reservoir cap, and I went and bought some supplies to make an adapter for the Miata hose. I bought a new brake reservoir cap to tap and drill a hole in and all that, and put one of these little fittings in. And then I bought the right fitting to fit into this threaded adapter on the Motive because it just unscrews. And I did all that only to find that when I took all the stuff out of the Motive box that I've had for like 10 years now, in the very bottom in a Ziploc bag, I had the adapter all along. I never empty that box all the way out. I emptied it all the way out just to clean up some stuff in that box. And so, yeah, rule of thumb, moral of the story, hot tip, make sure you don't have what you frickin' need squirreled away somewhere before you run off and buy what you need. Also, that segues into this little device here. If you wanted to make your own power bleeder, you get a pressure vessel that has its own little pump that can create pressure, and it's a sealed container. I would suggest getting a little gauge like that. You can drill a hole in the side of this, RTV it, 8802, good adhesive silicone, etc. Into that, make a tube just like this, and you can make your own pressure bleeder. So since I figured I bought some of the stuff, I could show you another way that if you don't have a Motive power bleeder and you don't want to spend the money on that, if you want to make your own, you can. Or you can buy the Motive power bleeder and just make sure you have all the parts required, which you probably do. And one more tip, if you happen to buy a new brake fluid cap, make sure the new cap fits. If it does, take the old cap off, put the new cap on the car, so that way you've got a new cap there, and if you've got to drill a hole in something, you drill it in the old one. All right, so we got to get the car in the air. Quick check's where it's at for that, and let's move the camera around and show you that. Car's in the air. Still need to take the wheels off. Just a good time to make sure, hey, do I have everything? Do I need to make unnecessary trips anywhere? I've got a fluid extractor because I'm going to pull as much of the old brake fluid out as possible. I have a container to put all the old brake fluid in. I have two of these. This is the Lucas Synthetic .3. Whatever flavor you like is best. I have a container to catch it at the brake caliper and a hose to connect to the brake caliper bleed screw, and then that collects here, and that way I can look in the bottom of this and say, oh, okay, we've got fresh, clean fluid. Now we can stop. I may end up swapping hoses. I bought some extra hose because we all need more hose, just saying. While I was out running around, just because this is just a little short on some vehicles. And I've got my Motive pressure bleeder. I'm just going to go ahead and pull all the wheels off. 21 millimeters is what gets those off. If you do not have an impact gun and you're doing this by hand, you may want to have the car on the ground just to break the nuts loose. I've got an impact gun, so that will take care of itself. Right rear, right front, left front is the order I'm going to do this in, and I just realized I may be able to set the camera up over there. I didn't think about that at all for this, but anywho, back to your regularly scheduled program. I'll get the wheels off, we'll get into it. Now we're going to start sucking the fluid out, and just get your little fluid extractor. Just be careful because brake fluid can ruin paint. And I'll show you, oh yeah, there's a little plastic cap inside of here on top of the reservoir. Got to make sure it gets out, and then, come on, let's get down in there. And as stated, just be careful to make sure it doesn't get all over the paint. And I just wanted to show you that nastiness. That's what you're pulling out. And have a nice little container for it to go into. And repeat the process until you can't suck any more out, then put fresh fluid in. All right, so now we've got a fresh, brand new container of fluid. We're going to top off the master cylinder. We're going to wipe off the top of it too, just to clean it up. We're going to top this off. We're actually going to go a little over the full mark because we'll be applying pressure, air pressure straight down. It won't be a problem to be a little over full. And then we're going to go to the passenger side rear wheel and take over some footage there. All right, so we'll just fill it up. Put your cap back on this, not to create a disaster, and put the cap back on this reservoir, not to create another disaster, and then screw this cap on. And this tubing, you want to make sure you loosen this cap, and by loosen, turn in a loosening direction. So this tubing is kind of coiled up, so as you tighten it down, you don't have to worry about it being coiled up, or you can just separate it here, screw the cap on, then attach it. I find it just as easy to do that. Just kind of coil it up a little bit before you start, and then screw this down. And all we're doing is we're pumping good old-fashioned air into here. We'll take this to about 10 psi. Okay, we're at about 11. And if you think 11 psi is too much, try to figure out how much pressure is normally inside of a master cylinder. I don't know how much inside this Miata's. I can just tell you I know of a ballpark range of most brake master cylinders of being above 500 psi. So the 11 I'm applying to the brake system isn't going to hurt a thing. All right, now that we've got that set up, we'll get this set up on the other side. We'll take another camera around there because I can't plan apparently. We're on the passenger side rear, and this is the brake caliper. Clearly the wheel's removed. That's our, let's try it that way. That's our dust cap. We can pull that off. That exposes our bleeder screw. Our bleeder screw is a 8mm. So we've got our plastic tubing here. We will shove onto that just like so. Take the other end, put it down here in our container, get that correct, and then we will now crack this screw. So let's see, that's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So if you put the wrench on here, you want to turn towards yourself. And there's nasty, icky fluid. We'll give it another little spin here. And it'll start filling that up. As you can see down there, fairly dirty, nasty fluid. You just want to periodically go and check the reservoir level to ensure that it's good. And if you can't see it, you can turn the light on, hit it right there like that, and you can see it's still above the minimum mark. But we're getting closer, so we'll probably shut it down now. Drained a decent amount of fluid out, so we'll righty-tighty this to stop the flow. We'll go release the pressure, add more fluid, and repeat this process again. We've taken out a decent amount of fluid. We're getting close to our minimum mark on our brake master cylinder, so it's time to add some more. So we have our pressure bleeder, and this applies to any pressure device, whatever you use to apply pressure if you're doing it this way. You first crack the top, bleed off pressure slowly. Now we're at zero pressure here, so you can take this cap off safely in order to add more fluid. And we can top the master cylinder off again, continue the process. I'll tell you what, these motive brake bleeders made brake bleeding, first and foremost, a single person job. Secondly, I can knock out a car. I'll be able to, without filming, I could knock this out, no kidding, in probably 30 minutes, possibly less, but I goof around and I'm slow. The pressure bleeders really changed the game for me, allowing me to do this by myself and being able to do it in a short amount of time. And we're getting a little bit of pressure escape right here at this metal clamp. I'm not that worried about it. I can hear it, but it's not bleeding down so fast that I'm unable to bleed the brakes, so no issues there. Secure this top again. and 11 PSI. It's this exact same process for every brake. It's a rinse and repeat. Just to be clear, passenger rear, driver rear, passenger front, driver front. Okay, 11 PSI, back we go. We have drained our container here, so all the dirty fluid's out of it. We've still got our tube hooked up. We still have our 8mm wrench. We're going to loosen it up, pull towards us, and allow this to bleed off and fill this container again. The whole point of this is to keep doing this until you know for certain you have clean, clear brake fluid coming into this. Typically you have to do it 2 or 3 times, and that's it. And the reason you start on this one is this the furthest from the master cylinder. So this is the longest line, so this takes the most fluid. Then you go to the next longest one, then the next longest one, and then you end up at the shortest one. And as we can see, that is still very dirty fluid down there. All right, we're on the 3rd time for the passenger rear. Hopefully this will be the last time. One thing you want to look for here is make sure there's not a lot of air bubbles in this, and there are none, so we're doing well with that. You can see clear fluid here. Sometimes it's a little misleading, but down there for sure. So let me go ahead and snug that down. On this, you just want to make sure it's snug. You do not have to, treat it like you think it said something about your mom. But as you can see, hopefully that comes out on the camera, that is very clean fluid. So we're done with this. We will leave this rubber cap off. I'm going to set it right there because I'm going to do a leak check when we're all done. We're done with the passenger side rear, which is the furthest one away. Now we're going to go to the driver side rear. Need to add just a little bit of fluid. So we're going to crack this like we have been. We're going to bleed that off, pressure 0, take the cap off, top it off with fluid, and go to the driver side rear. All right, we have 11 PSI here. We'll go to the driver rear. All right, we're on the driver side rear, just like the passenger side. We have the rubber cap here for the bleed screw. We will pop that off. It will be an 8mm as well. We will attach our clear plastic tube. I might get mocked about this, but I have to do this all the time. That's tight and that's loosened, so you'll push the wrench away from you. And just make sure that's snug down. And crack it. And just like over there, looking for air bubbles, we're into the same thing. We will come up here, verify we have enough fluid in our master cylinder, and keep going. All right, we've got clear fluid. We're filling up down there. Just make sure you keep an eye on that, and that's all you really need to do here. No air bubbles. Life looks good. We're draining some really nasty old fluid out. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm not going to show you that until I'm back up there anymore because it's the same process. Crack, bleed pressure, remove the cap, fill reservoir, replace cap, tighten, replace reservoir cap, tighten pressure cap, pump 10, 11, 12 PSI, go forth. All right, we're pumped back up. Crack this valve. Good clear fluid, no air bubbles. Fill this up. That other side took 3 times. I anticipate this one will take 3 times. The front will probably only take 2. It'll take less fluid, there's less lines, so it'll be a-okay, easy peasy. All right, we're getting a little low up there. We will stop this, get rid of this nasty fluid, add some fresh fluid up there, do it all again. 11 PSI up there, reservoir is full. We've cleaned out, we've dumped all our old nasty fluid. We'll crack our bleeder valve, make sure we've got no air bubbles, and we'll just hopefully get some good clean fluid here. All right, we've got solid clean fluid in our container. We're going to call that good. Yeah, pretty clean fluid there. Made a little bit of a mess, but that's all right. Just like the passenger side rear, we're all done. We're going to leave the rubber dust cap off because we're going to do a leak check when it's all said and done. We're going to crack the pressure up there, fill the reservoir, and move to the passenger side front tire. Bled the pressure off. We're going to take this off. We're going to top the reservoir off, hit it with 11 PSI, do the passenger side front, it won't take as much fluid because it's not as far, so you don't have to go through as many lines. We'll just overfill it just beyond the full line, just a smidge. You don't want to run out of fluid when you're doing this and pump a whole bunch of air into the system. Get a little pre-twist on this, so that way as we snug this down, it's all right. Tighten that back down so it'll actually hold pressure. And 11 psi. There is the cap for the bleeder screw, so we'll pull that off, set that there, hook this plastic tube up to it, righty-tighty, so we want a lefty-loosey. That one's been on there a while. There we go, got a little bit of air out of that. See those air bubbles? Maybe see those air bubbles right there. There's something oddly satisfying to me about clean brake fluid. I don't know why. Just make sure you keep an eye on the reservoir up there. We're filling up with nasty fluid there. So we're doing okay. This is actually going to be really easy on this side. Nice solid stream of fluid. No air bubbles, just a little bit when we cracked it. Perfect. We're just below the halfway point of the reservoir, so we'll tighten this up, snug that up, release that to drain all that fluid into there, not fling it on the floor for the third time, if possible, as I'm about to. Now we drain that nastiness. Somebody needs to hydrate for sure. Crack this, take this off, top the fluid up, tighten everything back up, pressurize. All right, we're topped off, dumped our container, so if we get clean fluid in it, we'll see it. Nice good stream out of there, no air bubbles. We might be two and done on this one. That's looking really good. Let's shut this off. Oh yeah, still need to hydrate, but better. All right, so we're done with the passenger side. Got good clean fluid coming out of it. Now we got to go to the last one, driver's side front. Still got pressure on it from the passenger side, so we'll just crack that pressure, bleed that off, take this cap off, top our master cylinder off, and much like our passenger side front, this should just take 2 bleeds, tighten all this up, apply pressure. Same situation here. Right there, right here is a cap for the bleeder screw. Pull the cap off, put our little line on, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey towards us. Solid fluid, no air bubbles. It's dirty. We anticipated that, and that's all right. We're still good on our fluid reservoir. We're getting close to midway. Pressurized again. We're overfilling the reservoir. We've got our tube hooked up to the front caliper for hopefully the last time, which is our second time. We're going to crack this valve. Got a good solid stream of fluid. No air bubbles whatsoever there. We look like we have fantastic clean fluid here, so I'm going to tighten this up. Good clean fluid there, just like on the other side, the passenger side on the front. Took 2 and we're in there. Now just got to sort of clean up. Now we have to bleed the pressure, top off our reservoir, clean all of these fittings up. We're going to start the car, apply the brakes, rev the engine to build the vacuum back up, apply the brakes some more, and then come back and leak check all of our bleed screws. That's the best way to do the leak check. Car's in the air, you're set up for it, do it that way. All right, let's get this off. Top up our master cylinder. We may not have enough for that. We might. We'll see. Oh, just by the hair of our chin. And I don't know why, but the Miata likes to be almost at the absolute full line, or otherwise you get that little brake, the emergency brake light comes on telling you you're low fluid. Wipe all the top of this master cylinder down, clean our little cap off of all the old fluid. Try to make sure you use a clean section of the rag here. Get this fluid and screen all clean. Put that down in there. Put our brand new cap back on. We're good. We're going to wipe all these down. Start the car, do a leak check on our bleeder screws. Pump the pedal 5 or 6 times and hold it one good time and let go. Rev the engine, build up a little bit of vacuum, pump the pedal again, press and hold, and let's build up some more vacuum and check our work. Just make sure you take a flashlight with you, and if you've cleaned it properly, you should know for sure almost instantly if they're leaking at all at this bleeder screw. None there. None there. None there. None there. All right, now you can turn the engine off. You check your master cylinder. Should still be topped off. It is. Mine is. Just had to double check, and you're done. Leak check was good. We put our rubber caps back on. We put our wheels back on. Lug nuts are on, not tight. We're going to lower the vehicle and torque them to 86 foot-pounds, and then we're done. Brakes are bled for the next few years. Good to go. Thanks for watching Maintainer's Garage. Have a great day.